Good to be here again, Juan. I wanted to start off today saying just thank you for, all the insight that you're providing, that we're providing to everyone, including myself, because every week I feel like I'm, growing massively from throughout the editing process, also just speaking here, getting it firsthand. It really feels amazing. And we were speaking prior to this, and a lot of what we were just talking segues very precisely into kind of what I wanted to start open up today's conversation with. And I feel like it's what we were speaking on as far as people having misconceptions out in the world. And so I wanted to open up by saying earlier in the week I was grabbing an insight from another conversation. A guy named Paul Rosillo. He lives in the Amazon very very often. He's a New Yorker, but he's got a lot of incredible insight. He's been living out there since about 18 years old. He's probably like in his 30s yet now. I don't know exactly his age, but he was having a conversation that was very interesting, and I was able to grab a little bit of an insight, and I know that you could expand on it for everybody else. So I'm curious to know what you feel about it. Basically, what he was saying is he was giving this analogy, or like he was explaining the moment he first grabbed an anaconda that he could not fit his hands around. He was 20 years old, and he like again he couldn't grab his hands around it, so he has no measurement for how big this thing was. But essentially, he was explaining how in the world, because he studies anacondas and he lives practically amongst these creatures in the wilderness, he has an understanding that most people don't of these things, in which you would observe them and you would think, wow, like we have this understanding from the society maybe outside here where it's like, stay away from them, they're dangerous, XYZ. And who knows who came up with this concept, but clearly they're not in tune as much as this individual is as to what their nature actually is. And from the experience of catching what he says is upwards of 80 different anacondas throughout the course of his time down there, he has a very different understanding of what they are. And that 9 times out of 10, if he's trying to observe one of these things in the wild and he's approaching them, if they get a glimpse of him, even from the shadow of a distance, they're quick to run away. They don't want any confrontation. Quite the stark contrast of what we think something that massive would do, where it's like, oh, they eat people and this, that, or the third. So again, this idea of people have a skewed understanding of certain things in the world. And so that to me is it kind of puts the nail in the head for me. It's lit off fireworks in my mind where it's like, wow, how many other things in this world do I have a skewed misconception of that I don't I'm practically agreeing with, but without enough knowledge to understand like the reality of those things. So maybe I don't know what you grasp from it, but if you could add a bit to that understanding, to that insight, I feel like it'd be something of value.
There's a lot there. And the reason why there's a lot there, number one, his skill, observation. We all remember the movie Anaconda. So that has already been what we've been exposed to that understanding. But that understanding comes from the director of the movie, from his imagination. But it's a movie, it's a story. Nobody is gonna go watch a movie that doesn't have suspense, action, emotions. But that's what we've been exposed to. How many people actually went and read a book about anacondas after watching that movie? And any single time we probably been exposed to them has been some type of TV format. And in those TV formats, they've had their roles. So society, the world, has made a role for anacondas, which is what we mostly know. Now, this gentleman, Paul, what he did was find his meaning to his life. He found an environment that spoke to his heart. Hence him living in the Amazon. But it's like when I read a book, I can read a book on skills of exercising. I can read a book on skills of communication. I can read a book on a skill of flexibility. But until I actually put that information to practice, I don't know it. It's not inside of me. I can read a book about love, but if I've never experienced love, I'm not going to understand what someone who has experienced love understands from that book. Because ultimately, our perceptions, our realities are based upon what we've been exposed to. So, what Paul did was he went and he expanded his being and his understanding of anacondas by observing them, studying them, and not reading something and automatically making that the belief that he had on what he read. He went to actually go experience. So at the beginning, he went, he observed. He probably was fearful. But because he was in the Amazon, he found people that actually have knowing anacondas. And I'm sure they started to teach him about anacondas. But we're talking about in person. I can watch a learning video on TV, but it's a difference being in person. Experiencing that up front, what does that do? My body now knows it. My body's, because I got to see anaconda and that's the distance, my body, my senses, they felt it. My emotions were next to it. So he was able to decipher what anacondas really are like. And then as he observed, he started studying, he started taking notes down, he started building. And as he built, what he ended up doing was now putting his thesis, all that information, his idea all together. And when he put it all together, now he's sharing with the world. The way we are sharing our insights of what we do at Gift Fitness, of what we've experienced together, of all the insights that have been born from us doing together, now they are putting that together and they're bringing that to us. Which then extends what we understand about knowing. Which then extends what we do when it comes to knowing.
For anybody that didn't have any sort of fireworks going off the way that I did when I first got that glimpse, it was because for me, it was much more than this expression of like an anaconda. It was more than that. People go about their lives speaking about, cutting the grass low to get to be able to see the snakes and watch out for that person because, he or she has snaky characteristics. And for me, it just brought up this idea of like, okay, so how much of a understanding do I actually have of this individual that I'm already putting a guard to? And yes, of course, maybe there's interactions with individuals that we have where the time or the space isn't adequate for you to be able to like observe them on a deeper level, because maybe in passing your instinct was to put a guard up, and I understand that. But for me, it was like, okay, how much further can I take it with anybody else, and understanding, like being compassionate as to like, okay, who is this person for in actuality? How much further can I dig instead of just putting a wall in between, they and I? And that's why for me that expression was so groundbreaking. Like it just made me, fireworks light off in my mind. And so that aspect for me was incredibly important in that conversation they were having.
Well, to add to that, that's so powerful because people make judgment. You don't know someone's heart until you actually observe it. So don't automatically judge. Really get to see who someone is. Now, am I telling you to listen to their words? No. I'm telling you to listen to their behavior and what they do. Really pay attention. And, something that's very important, even as you try to help others, it's so important to first meet them where they're at. Second, instead of putting them in their place, put yourself in their place. And then take them to where they want to go. But you have to first connect. And just how so many want to place judgment, first let them observe you, your behavior. Let them see your conviction for what you're trying to teach. Because if you're trying to teach someone something, it's because you do it, because you practice it. So when you're looking to help others, you got to let time go by. If I give someone a lesson and I put something into their awareness, I don't expect them to get it right there and then. Because that information was never inside of them. I throw the information inside of them so as they live and experience life, they can have aha moments, epiphanies, insights can be born. Or when they read a book, insight can be born. And then when I see that now they have arrived at the new knowing, then I have more. But you can't just throw everything you got in one shot. It's little by little and where they're at. And just because you know it doesn't mean that they know it. And just because you say it doesn't mean that they understand it. So be patient. Because learning and teaching is not the way we want it to be. It's the way it is. And we only really learn from doing, from action. I can give you my wisdom in a conversation, or I could write it down and you can read it. But until you experience it, until you live it, that wisdom isn't yours. It's just knowledge. It's just information that you have that you don't have a deep understanding of. So with that gentleman, he's giving us a deep understanding of the wisdom he's developed. But until we go to the Amazon and go near an anaconda, we're not going to know it. He's able to paint a picture for us in our mind's eye, but the real knowing comes from doing. The ultimate thing we can do in life is experience it. Stop looking back at the past. It doesn't exist anymore. And forget about the future. Be present. Let everything go. See, I cannot control the external world and what happens in it. But I can control my internal world. And it's going to be based on what I believe about it, on what I have faith about. That's why, for me, I'm always joyful. I'm always happy. because I've gotten to a place in my life and understanding that the ultimate meaning of life, that is for loving. So I made a decision to feel peaceful, to feel joyful, to be happy. I made a decision to enjoy doing, process, journey, letting go of outcomes, letting go of expectations. I just let go. So much more enjoyable to live life when I'm just being, when I'm just doing. And when someone tells me that, hey, I need to have a bad day, I tell them, you're right. Because that's their belief. I'm not here to impose what I believe and what my mental models are on anyone. If someone says, you know what, I can't, I tell them, you're right. What I will do is give choices. I tell them, yes, you're right, but I am also right. So it's what we choose. In the hopes that they can arrive at a better understanding and belief than the one that they currently have. Because the reality is they are not wrong. Because if that is the reality that they're choosing to live, it is their right to live that reality. Now, I can sit here and talk about everything that's wrong on how they arrived at believing in that reality. I had a conversation earlier today with this gentleman, 52 years old, and he's just talking to me about the past and everything that's been wrong and everything that's been done wrong and how this isn't right and this information is that. And I tell him, I understand you, but I think different. I'm focused on what I'm doing to make things better under the scope of my influence. And what I'm not going to do is dwell on the bad. I'm not saying bad things don't happen, because they do. But I've never experienced anything good out of dwelling on bad things. Out of saying this isn't fair. Out of complaining. But I can tell you this. I felt a lot of joy and a lot of happiness focusing on the things that I can control. On the things that I can do. On the actions that I can take. I don't really do comparisons. I don't really look left. I don't really look right. I'm just doing. That's what life is about. It's about doing, being here. What's happened has happened. How's that going to help? Focusing on that. The best thing to do is to go forward and let go of that, because that kind of baggage is only going to weigh you down. That kind of baggage isn't going to make you feel good. And we all have different things to let go of. We all have different traumas. We all have different bad experiences. But my understanding, I need to see how these experiences, these traumas can make me better. And again, that's my belief. I would never impose my beliefs on anyone. The only thing that I do is let people know that they have a choice to choose their beliefs. Because what they have might not be them. Those impressions that are inside of them that are the truth could be school, could be a parent, could be a cousin, could be an uncle, aunt. It could come from all over the place. So what I'm telling them to do is get rid of all the layers of impressions that they have. And when you get to what's there, where you get to what is the raw of their heart, what do they choose? And understanding that what you choose is for you. And as long as you're not imposing yourself and what you choose on anyone else, it's an easy life. There's nothing wrong with it. It could be joyful. Focus on your relationships. Focus on encouraging people around you. See what your world becomes. And then, as you go and you make the people around you and your influence better, as your influence increases, then start doing more. So, hey, we can start with the community. Then from community, you could go to state. Then from state to country. And ultimately, country world. Because the reality of it is that we're all human beings. That's what I see. That's what I choose to see. I choose to see everyone as an individual. I choose to see everyone with a different heart. And I'm not here to tell people that my way is the way. I'm here to tell people that what they choose, as long as it doesn't bring harm to others, is the way. Because we're all meant to be free, to be ourselves, to be who we are. And have fun discovering a way with being who you are. How can that connect with your life to what you do for your life's work? And how can that contribute to the world around us? And are there other things happening? Yes, of course. But if I can't personally do anything about those other things, I might as well do the good that I can. You know, I'm inspired by a man who said, I have a dream. I'm inspired by a man who said, ask not what your country could do for you, but what you can do for your country. And then I would like to expand on that to say, ask not what the world can do for you, but what can you do for the world? I'm inspired by a man who said, be the change that you want to see in the world. I'm inspired by a man who said, yesterday I was clever, so I was trying to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself. So as I live life, I look for inspiration. And I look for the things that connect to my heart, and then I express it. Because ultimately what you always see is me, being who I am. And just enjoying every single day as if it was a full lifetime. From the moment I wake up to the moment I fall asleep, everything with intention. Everything with purpose. Now, does that mean work? No. That also means how I relax. That also means how I enjoy, how I reflect, how I disconnect. Because ultimately, we're supposed to explore everything that life is. And we're all going to see it different. We all have different windows. These eyes, right? We all have a different view. But explore your views. And then surround yourself by the greatest people in the world that you find and come across. Keep them. People are so fast to throw people away. No, keep everyone. Because uniquely, that individual is going to have a perspective that you will never have. And if they do good, and if they are good, nurture them. As people, we don't grow because people don't care. Because people don't nurture. Take the time. As long as what you see within their nature is good, take the time. And then, even if you don't see what's good, then even if you can't take the time because that person is not ready to listen, then model. Let them see what greatness looks like. Human excellence. Let them see what a giver, a contributor looks like. So the day that they are ready, they have a reference point. They can remember back to you doing what you did and then saying, now I understand it. Now I see it. But if we don't model, if we don't nurture, then how do we evolve as people? How does that ever come about? If someone does something bad and then I go and I react and do something bad in return, that only deepens the wound inside of them. That's not what strength is supposed to look like. What strength is supposed to look like is that someone can do something ill intentioned and I'm going to respond with undeserved kindness. So now that they have a reference point of what life can be and what strength really looks like, vulnerability, being yourself, being honest, living with an open heart. So that way that you may attract those hearts that are meant to be in your life. Because if I close off, then what? And then also see further. Don't just see someone for who they are today. See for who they can be 10 years from now. So just because they're not there, don't throw them away. If you can see that future, nurture. Push them towards that. Little nudges. And remember, it's power versus force. You're not forcing them. It's the power in you being you that's going to have them walk forward into that direction. And then what are the outcomes? Then you have a room, a world of artists. For me, everyone that I see that comes to Give Fitness is an artist, is a creator. And we have all these amazing perspectives that add to each other from different experiences. And everyone's insights and perspective of just growing. The views of the world is just growing. The ideas are evolving, getting better and better. This is where we come to test our ideas through the dialogues, through the conversations. And then everyone's perspective adds to it. I might be the founder and creator of Give Fitness, but I'm only the gatekeeper. I'm the filter. This is a combination of everyone's hearts, of everyone who's ever walked through that door, of everyone who has added. This is an energy of what the world can be everywhere. And with this culture and this environment that we've established here, now we're going into the world and we're helping others establish that, whether it is in the government world through education, whether it is in the corporate world through businesses and multi-million-dollar corporations. It doesn't matter what level, because human interaction is human interaction. The idea is building collaboration. Teamwork is good, but collaboration is better. See that? Because it's when we collaborate, it's when we build on each other's strength. That's when greatness is born. That's when great things happen. And no longer second sourcing information, actually going on the forefront and experiencing. So that way we could bring the best knowing possible back. So that way with the collective can build more, can create more. And the success is not the monetary gain. The real success is coming from all the lives that we've impacted, all the lives that we have changed for the better. You know you're on the right path when you have moments in your life where you get so much gratitude that you get overwhelmed and tears of joy flow out. Because it's such an overwhelming emotion of so much good that everyone's hearts expressing all this love and good and expressing how you, because you took the time, the kind of impact it has had on their lives. People, building people up. people being successful and expressing gratitude, it's overwhelming. Because you have to understand, it's about a better reality. It's about a better view, a better perspective. Our philosophy is simple. Everything in life must be easy, correct, and enjoyable. Because if it's easy to you, if your inner world is at peace and it feels easy, then you can do it correctly. And if you can do it correctly, then it's enjoyable. And what feeds us as people, as human beings, is progress. We don't have to suffer to make progress. You can literally have laughter and enjoy and make progress all your life. Now, I'm not saying that this should be the absolute truth from everyone. I'm telling you that this is my personal absolute truth. This is my personal ideal. See what you come up with for yourself. See what principles, values you choose to live your life by that are going to bring you peace, joy, happiness.
It's amazing. You give us so much from Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy and etc. and all of that. Even the conversation that you were having earlier today with the gentleman, real life scenarios that we could all, reflect from that we all encounter throughout the day. Is there anything that you've also maybe in your life you've experienced similar to this idea of that's possibly a skewed understanding of snakes in the grass or things like that? Is there anything else that you've encountered, like these sayings that we particularly use as a society, where you feel like at its core is flawed in any way?
Of course, for me, it's fitness. Everyone says, oh, fitness has to be hard. Oh, fitness, if you're not in pain, you didn't work out. If you're not hurting, you didn't do it right. We think that that's a misconception. The idea is to create habits. And I'm going to paraphrase from The Atomic Habit by James Clear. Attractive, satisfying, easy. That's how you build habits. So our understanding is that fitness is a habit. Fitness is a process. But what happens when the process is easy, it's done correctly, then it can be enjoyable. So when people learn that their fitness is actually enjoyable, when you change their perspective and their view on it, then people can actually develop the habits of being fit and take it further. When people learn that it's a lifestyle. See, everyone has that misconception that they think that they have to fit fitness around their life. No. Fitness is meant to be fit around your life and in your style, with how much time you have to train. Everything can be adjusted to the individual. And then people will be healthy. And instead of going to doctors for some type of medication so it could numb what's wrong, it's going to be the opposite. Because they're healthy, their body is going to be strong enough. This immune system that we have it's incredible. As a matter of fact, this whole thing, right? This body of ours, this mind, this heart, everything, it is the greatest creation on earth. Like the mechanics of it, the idea of your consciousness, the idea how there's civilizations of cells inside of you, like this energy, because you can say we're stardust. like how we communicate, like words and meaning, and how we developed all that, like outer engineering, inner engineering, like yo, this structure right here, it's fascinating. You know, for us, fitness is our conduit, but for me, it's about this whole structure. The ultimate skill you can have in life is self mastery. Number two, communication. Number three, discipline. You combine those three, and it's incredible, because now you're talking about character, you're talking about competence, you know, and imagine human beings at that level. But that there's such a misconception of fitness, and fitness is the preventative of medicine. It's the preventative. But you don't see ads on that. You don't see advertisement on that. You know? I go to a doctor and the doctor's like, all right, here you go. This is what you take. This is going to numb the pain. It'll make it go away. But if our bodies are constantly deteriorating, why would they not more say, hey, you need to start exercising? Hey, do you understand that if you do strength training, right, and you build muscle mass, you're going to have more energy. Your body's going to be stronger. Your immune system's stronger. You know, you build better bone density. But instead, you get a medicine and then you already have a deteriorating body. So why would you want to numb what's wrong? So that just means that every single time I feel this, I'm going to come back. You're going to numb it. And it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. As in opposed to the idea of, hey, teach me about nutrition. Teach me about physical exercise. And it'll never come back. How many people have been told, hey, your shoulder will never work the same again, or your knee? Well, and I'm speaking from experience. One of our students here, he came in with this truth. My shoulder, my knee, never be the same again. They're messed up. I need you to be real careful with it. You know, like my doctor, my physical therapist, they said, it's no good. This guy squats 225. He was doing 155 shoulder press the other day. It's better than mine. But what about if I didn't challenge him? What about if I let him accept that truth? What about if we never meet? Who is going to take care of him like that? So the rest of his life, the rest of his existence, he was going to have to live at a handicap when that wasn't the truth? So somebody prescribed something that wasn't truth? It's horrendous. That's why we do the work we do. Because the idea is to make healthy, happy, confident human beings that inspire everyone around them. But that's the biggest misconception I see. Health. You don't need a million pills to get your vitamins and minerals. You just need to eat some whole foods. You don't need an ankle brace or a knee brace or these other things that they're prescribing to you. You just need to strengthen your muscle mass so it can help your joints and your simple. But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, and just because it's easy it doesn't mean it's simple. The idea is that we want to educate as many people as are open to it. Because that's so powerful. It's also when people are ready. It's not when I choose. It's when they choose. So I present ideas. I present solutions. But what I don't do is accept the idea that there isn't a better way. The way my mind works is that there is always a better way. Because as human beings, that's what we're designed to do, to continuously find a better way. We have more at our disposal now than the presidents had in 90s. information wise. But guess what? Technology has grown so much that we probably have a better lifestyle now and than the 90s. That was 30 years ago. So imagine 30 years in the future. The stuff that's happening in medicine and technology and just everything around us is it's called a singular event, and it's ridiculous. So it's time that we stop identifying ourselves and limiting ourselves. It's time for us to realize that we are limitless. For example, what do I mean by that? If I were to say I'm a gym owner and that's my identity, that's limited. If I were to say I'm an author and that's it, I'm limiting myself. I am wherever I need to be. I'm Juan Vargas. My belief is that whatever I decide and choose to do, I can do. The question is, what do I want to enjoy next? What do I want to go learn about next? What do I want to dive into next? Because there is nothing but potential and possibilities all around us. All we have to do is observe and pay attention and add value to others. See, when I learn something, I ask myself, how does this add value to me? Then my next question is, how can I use this value and bring it to others? And then my next question, how can I help others add that value to others? Because that's what life is about. It's about adding value. So I'm the kind of human being that if you grab my attention and you ask me a question or you ask me for advice or guidance, I stop and give. And this is what I mean about being limitless. I don't stop and say, hey, I have this life, so I don't have time for this. The opposite. I just give. The sun, it just shines. It doesn't ask for anything. It just shines. So I just shine. And then what I teach everyone that comes and is within my proximity is to just shine. Forget about the expectations. Do it because it feels good. Do it because it's a better thought process. It's a better reality. If you want to be better than people, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to empower people, there's a lot of joy in that. There's a lot of joy in empowering other people to be and to do. And there's even more joy when you do that unconditionally, not for something. Do it because just to do it. Do it just to do. So often we find people, I'm not going to do something for that individual because if I'm not going to get something out of it, what's the point? Why am I going to spend my time to do it? Why is it that I'm going to go and do that? It doesn't make sense. It's not the thing to do. The thing to do is to actually go and empower them, to give them more. But if I'm not giving them more, then what's the point? If I'm going to see that human being and I know I can add this and it's going to be a potential to them, why would I not? But so often others, if they can't receive something out of it, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give them that information. And ultimately what we are as human beings is information. So why not share what you've collected? Just share it. But instead, people feel so threatened of what someone can be, or like, oh man, they're gonna get a leg up on me and maybe I'm not gonna be relevant no more. But the reality is, right, it's that if anything, you're gonna be more relevant because you were the one who caused that to happen. And this is the best part. It's not about being validated for it, or it's not about receiving credit for it. It's more that you know, I helped do that. Wow. And that's the way. That should be the way for everyone. Giving just to give. Helping others just to be more than they are. And see what kind of world we'll be living in. See if it doesn't empower everything to be better. But ultimately is people wanting hierarchy and control and recognition and validation. That's what stops us. Because someone wants to say, I have power over this. Someone wants to say, I did that. Someone wants to say, I control that environment. Someone wants to say, oh, it's the way I say. I say all the time, at Give Fitness, we don't have a hierarchy. We have conversations and collaboration. It's not about the I, it's about the we. And the only thing I do is filter. So we have discussions, and what I am is the facilitator of the discussion to make sure that the energy is good, to make sure that the flow is good. Because that's what it's supposed to be. If you use words of destruction, if you use negative words, what other outcome but deterioration can you expect? So even when others do wrong, still don't use negative language. Because now you're just falling even deeper. And stop blaming other people. Don't blame other people because you're not living the life that you want to live. There's only one person you can look at, and it's in the mirror. Because I promise you, if you seek truth, if you seek opportunity, if you seek better information for yourself, and you decide to expand, grow, and learn, you'll find it. You'll find it, but you have to seek it. It doesn't just come. You have to earn it. And it is earned. It is not given, it is earned. So even when I give people information, even when I encourage, I tell them how to, but they still have to do it. If someone doesn't do it, then it doesn't happen.
That's amazing. We are what we believe, everyone.